Hey, what's up, Angels fans, and welcome back to Angels Latest, the daily show where we talk about our Halos the same way we do with our friends. We're a little hopeful, a little frustrated, a little traumatized, and a little delusional. But as always, we're locked in. I'm Anthony, and now if you've been following the last few episodes, you know we've been diving deep into the 2025-26 free agency wish list. We talked about Kyle Tucker, Alex Bregman, Bo Bichette, Kyle Schwarber, Cody Bellinger, and Pete Alonso. All the stars Halos fans dream about unwrapping under the Christmas tree. But today we're switching things up because while bats are fun, home runs are sexy as heck, and we all miss the days when the Angels could mash. But the truth is, this team has one massive screaming from the rooftops need. We'll say it all together as a group. Starting pitching. And not just a guy, and not just innings, and not just a rotational patch. I'm talking about a frontline guy, a legitimate number one or number two starter who can take the ball every 5 days and give the Angels something we haven't had consistently in years, and that's a reliable go-to arm. So today, Halos fans, we're opening up the wish list again, and we're looking at one of the biggest, baddest, most accomplished arms on the entire 2025-26 free agent market, and that's Framber Valdez, lefty, workhorse, all-star, World Series champion, ground ball machine, and one of the most consistent pitchers in the sport for at least the last half decade. So let's dive right into it and get on it with Framber Valdez. So who is Framber? And as we mentioned, this guy's a workhorse, a ground ball machine, a two-time All-Star, a World Series champion, a record-setting pitcher with 25 straight quality starts in 2022, and a dude who can throw a 93-pitch no-hitter in 2023. And in 2025, he logged in 31 starts, 192 innings, 13-11 record, a 3.66 ERA, 187 strikeouts, and a 1.24 whip. That definitely is a frontline starter. He's a guy who takes the ball every fifth day and gives you a real chance at getting the W. But it gets even better. Framber owns the number one ground ball rate in all of baseball over the last 5 seasons, around 61 to 62%, which is absurd in today's home run happy MLB. He keeps the ball in the yard. He induces weak contact. He forces double plays. He basically outthinks the hitters. He out-executes lineups. This is the exact profile the Angels haven't had since peak Jared Weaver or John Lackey or, even, those type command eras when Jared Weaver had that awesome control as well. So why Framber fits the Angels perfectly? Well, it's because this is where it actually gets exciting. The ballpark fit. He is built for the big A. It is extremely friendly to pitchers who keep the ball in the yard. It forces soft contact, avoid walks, eats up innings, and guess what? That's literally the Framber Valdez resume. He's an anti-homer pitcher. And in Anaheim, his ground ball sinker would play beautifully. His pitch to defense matchup is amazing, and this is where the Angels really shine. Framber gets grounders and lots of them. And who do the Angels have? Well, Zach Neto, elite defensive shortstop. Nolan Schanuel, improving at first. Luis Rengifo, above average utility defender. And Anthony Rendon, of course, when healthy, still solid at third. Kyron Paris and Jeremiah Jackson, or other young infielders also developing. All good defenders. This is the best type of pitcher for a young, athletic infield. And he's not a fly ball guy who needs gold glove outfielders. He needs infielders who can pick it up and get that ball to first. And the Angels have that. The budget, it fits them. Can the Angels afford him? Absolutely, easily. Framber's market is projected around 5 years, 140 million to about 6 years, 180 to 186 million. And that annual average is around 28 to 31 million per year. And the Angels currently sit in the 180 to 190 million payroll area, 13th in Major League Baseball. So that means that they still have plenty of room below the luxury tax and historically have spent much higher under Artie Moreno. And remember, Artie Moreno is not cheap. We already talked about it. He's just inconsistent. I mean, he gave $426 million to Trout, $240, $240 million to Pujols, $245 million to Rendon, $125 million to Hamilton, $106 million to Upton, a $140 to $180 million for a pitcher. That's right in Artie's wheelhouse. So yes, the Angels can absolutely afford Framber Valdez. So let's talk about the pros and cons of signing him. So the pros is he's a true frontline starter. As I mentioned, 180 to 200 inning workhorse, maximizes or minimizes the home runs, maximizing the ground balls, which is perfect for the Big A. Number one ground ball rate in MLB. He is playoff proven, durable, and consistent. Makes your entire rotation better. And he'll be age 32, entering 2026, still in the prime of his career. Perfect fit again with the Angels' infield defense. So let's talk about the cons. Well, the walks can creep up at times. Not a strikeout-heavy pitcher as he relies on contact management. Sinker balls sometimes age unpredictably, so, he's a sinker ball pitcher. A 6-year deal could have risks on the back end. And Astros pitchers sometimes dip after leaving Houston's development system. But even with those concerns, Framber is about as high floor and dependable as it gets. So the big question is, would Artie actually do it? Would he pull the trigger? Well, now for that part, that Angels fans always ask that question, is he going to actually pay for a frontline starter? And honestly, yes, if the motivation is there. Artie loves the stars. He loves the headlines. He loves contract splashes. And there is no bigger, more headline-grabbing move than stealing an ace from the Houston Astros and dropping him at the top of the rotation. Framber is the kind of signing that signals to the fans from Artie that enough is enough. We're not rebuilding anymore. We're going for it. But the Angels must pair him with a bullpen investment and a roster depth. Framber alone cannot fix the franchise. He's just a piece, not the whole picture. But still, if the Angels want to change the narrative, if they want to get back up what they say every season, Framber is exactly the type of move that sends the message. All right, Angel fans, so that's Framber Valdez, a proven workhorse, a ground ball machine, a lefty ace who would instantly reshape the top of our rotation. But here's the thing. Framber isn't the only frontline starter hitting the markets this offseason. We've got choices. And if the Angels really want to fix this rotation, and I mean actually finally legitimately fix it, they can't stop with just one name. So let's look at another top arm that tops the top 20 free agent list, a guy with some of the nastiest stuff in baseball, a pure swing and miss monster, a pitcher who might not be as consistent as Framber, but absolutely has ace level upside. Let's talk about Dylan Cease. If you want stuff, this is your guy. If you want a pitcher who can miss bats like a magician, a guy who makes hitters look like they brought a pool noodle to the plate, look no further, because when Dylan Cease is locked in, he is absolutely filthy. So who is Dylan Cease as a right-handed starter? He's turning 30 going into the 2026 season, drafted by the Cubs, developed by the White Sox, and traded to the Padres. And now one of the most intriguing free agent arms on the market. He is known for electric strikeout stuff, upper 90s fastball, a wipe-out slider, some of the best whiff rates in Major League Baseball, ace-level ceiling everything clicks. He also came in second place in the AL Cy Young voting in 2022 when he put up a 2.20 ERA and dominated the league. And more recently, he threw a no-hitter in July of 2024 with the San Diego Padres. So yeah, the talent is undeniable. Taking a snapshot of Dylan Cease's 2025 performance, he put up a mixed bag. He was 8-12, 8-12 record, 4.55 ERA, 1.33 WHIP, 215 strikeouts, which put him sixth in the National League. That's the definition of a pitcher with elite stuff but inconsistent results. The strikeouts are insane. The ERA isn't what you want. The WHIP's too high. The swing and miss ability is elite, and you can't really teach that. That's just a born natural talent. Looking at some of the advanced metrics, why teams still love him, even with the middling ERA, the underlying numbers scream ace potential. On the strikeouts percentage, 29.8%, which puts him elite. The walkout rate's about 9.8%, too high. The barrel percentage allowed was averaging 8.6%. The average exit velocity allowed is 88.9 miles per hour. And in plain English, he can dominate hitters if he can limit the free passes and the occasional big mistake pitch. This is the classic high ceiling, high volatility starter. And so let's talk about why he would be a fit for the Angels. Well, first, the Angels desperately need swing and miss pitching. For years, the Angels have rolled out pitch to contact arms and hoped for the best, while Cease is the opposite. He gets strikeouts. He controls innings with the raw stuff. He doesn't rely on elite defense, just his arm. The Angels really need that badly. Secondly, the ballpark fit. The Big A helps him with his biggest issues, the walks, occasional barrels, big innings. Angel Stadium helps limit the damage on those mistake pitches, especially with its deep left, center, and marine layer nights. Another strength is the budget fit. Projected contract, 5 years, $125 million to $150 million, or even 6 years, $150 million to $180 million. That's the exact contract size the Angels have handed out multiple times under owner Artie Moreno. So Cease fits the payroll. The question is whether the front office wants a volatile ace or a steady ace. So the pros and cons for the Angels for Dylan Cease. The pros: one of baseball's elite strikeout pitchers. Young for a free agent starter at age 30, as we said. He's got no-hitter stuff, ace potential, instant rotation upgrade, and could be the Angels' version of buying high and upside pitching. The cons: ERA and WHIP fluctuate. Walk rate is high. Command can disappear. Inconsistent season to season. A big contract carries real volatility risks. This is the classic boom or bust arm, but the boom is a Cy Young finalist. So the big question is, should the Angels gamble? And here's the truth. If the Angels want certainty, Framber Valdez is your guy. If the Angels want upside, wants whiffs, want pure electricity, want a guy who could realistically strike out 230 plus hitters in Anaheim, then Dylan Cease is absolutely worth the gamble. And look, the Angels need pitching, not a little pitching. They need multiple pitchers. If their plan is to shock the league and sign 2 frontline starters, well then, Valdez and Cease combo could be the biggest rotation upgrade the Angels have had in decades. All right, Angels fans, so that's Dylan Cease, a high-octane swing and miss arm with Cy Young upside, electrical stuff, and the kind of strikeout profile we just haven't had in this rotation for way too long. So now we've looked at 2 big arms, Framber Valdez, the steady ace, and Dylan Cease, the strikeout machine. 2 completely different styles, but both guys could dramatically change the identity of the pitching staff heading into 2026 for the Halos. But here's the thing. Every time we talk about these big free agent names, every time we bring up a star coming to Anaheim, the same topic always pops up in the comments section. Can you guess it? And honestly, you're right to bring it up. A lot of you have asked about the luxury tax. A lot of you brought up Artie Moreno not wanting to go over it. And some of you flat out said, why are we even talking about these guys? Artie's never gonna pay. So let's talk about it. Let's break it down. Luxury tax 101. So, what is the luxury tax and how close are the Angels to it? And does going over it really matter financially and competitively? Because if we're going to have an honest conversation about free agency, this is the part we can't ignore. So, what again is even the luxury tax? Well, MLB doesn't have a hard cap, salary cap. Instead, they use something called the competitive balance tax, the CBT. Think of it like this. You get a spending allowance and you go over it. You get a bill. For 2026, that allowance, the threshold is $244 million. If your payroll goes above that, you pay 20% tax the first year, 30% tax the second, 50% tax the third, and if you go way over, let's say $20 plus million, $40 plus million, $60 plus million over, you get hit with extra surcharges and even draft pick penalties. But, and this is important, it's not a salary cap, and you can go over it. Teams do it. Big teams do it a lot. And where have the Angels been? Well, historically, believe it or not, the Angels almost never cross the line. Since Artie Moreno bought the team in 2003, the Angels have crossed the tax threshold once, and that was in 2004. And the bill was tiny. And that's it. Every other year, they've stayed under. Even the year they signed Albert Pujols at $240 million, Josh Hamilton at $125 million, Anthony Rendon at $245 million, even Mike Trout at $426 million. They still maneuvered things to stay below the tax. So yes, the viewers bringing up Artie doesn't like going over. You're not wrong. But here's the part fans don't always get to hear. Going over the luxury tax isn't always bad. Some teams treat it like a strategic investment. So let me show you. The Dodgers are a good example. They blow past the tax line like it's not even real. In 2024, they were one of 3 teams more than $60 million over to the tax threshold. What happened? They won the World Series. MLB announced record-setting merch sales tied to that postseason run. The Dodgers passed 4 million fans in attendance again. Their brand value went up. Their revenue went up. So yeah, they paid a big tax bill, but the reward was even bigger. Let's take a look at another team, the Texas Rangers. After the Rangers won the 2023 World Series, their attendance shot up by 150,000 plus. Weekday ticket sales jumped between 27% and 54%. Promo nights tied the championship sellouts. Their brand value grew, and winning pays for itself. Another case with a team, the Toronto Blue Jays. Playoffs are cash machines for them. Once economic analysis showed 4 additional playoff home games generated roughly $75 million in revenue from ticket sales and in-stadium spending alone. That's before sponsorship, TV deals, postseason shares, merchandise. A playoff run can literally pay for a star player's annual salary. So what does this mean for the Angels? Well, right now, as in today, the Angels' payroll is well below the luxury tax line. They have space. They have flexibility. They have room to add a big star. So the real question isn't, can they afford a Framber Valdez or a Dylan Cease? It's, would they be willing to cross the tax line if it meant really competing? And here's where it gets interesting. If you sign a true difference maker, a frontline starter, a superstar bat, and that's what leads to winning, attendance goes up. Merchandise goes up, TV ratings go up, sponsorships go up, playoff revenue explodes, franchise value increases. The financial impact of winning literally offsets the tax bill. That's why teams like the Dodgers, Yankees, Mets, Phillies, even the Rangers, they do it. They spend because they expect the return. Now, here's the flip side. Here's the Mets cautionary tale, because let's be fair here. The 2023 Mets spent $319.5 million on payroll, $100.8 million in luxury tax penalties. So the total, over $420 million spent, and they missed the playoffs. That's the nightmare scenario. So yeah, going over the tax is a tool, but it has to be used with a real plan, real depth, and a real roster building, not just one splash and a hope. What does this mean for the Angel fans and free agency talks? Well, when we mention guys like Framber, Valdez, Dylan Cease, Pete Alonso, Cody Bellinger, Bo Bichette, this is why the luxury tax conversation matters. The Angels can afford these players financially. They could go over the threshold. They could push in if they want to build a contender. The real question isn't money, it's commitment. Commitment to winning and not just spending. That's what Angel fans want to see. That's what you guys bring up in the comments. And that's why this topic keeps coming up. All right, so that's the truth about the luxury tax. It's not a boogeyman. It's not a cap. And it's not an excuse. It's a choice. And if the Angels choose correctly, if they build smart, develop talent, and add right stars, well, then the return absolutely outweighs the cost. Winning pays for itself, and Angels fans deserve a team that believes that too. All right, Angels fans, so that wraps up our deep dive again into the luxury tax, what it really means, and how it actually plays into the Angels' future, free agency, and the choices this franchise has to make. And honestly, I love these kinds of conversations because they're not just rumors or wish lists. They're questions about strategy, commitment, and what direction this team wants to go. But speaking of conversations, you already know what time it is, because in every episode, you guys bring the fire. You bring the passion, the debates, the disagreements, the corrections, the jokes, the hopes, and the absolute chaos that makes this show fun. And in the last episode, man, the comment section was buzzing. We got questions about pitching, takes about free agency, comments about Artie Moreno's wallet, and even some friendly shots at me for stuttering or mispronouncing names. Which, hey, fair, I'm new to YouTube, not new to being an Angels fan, and I'm working on it, so hopefully with more and more reps, I'll be as smooth as ice. So let's jump into viewer comments where we react, respond, and talk it out just like a bunch of Halos fans hanging out after a game over a cold one. So let's see what you guys had to say in our viewer comments. We had at Corey Soto, and I deserve this one. At Corey Soto writes, Cody was born in 1955. Dang, he's doing great for his age. Ha ha. Pretty sure it was 1955. Yeah, that one's on me. Listen, again, longtime Angels fan here. I've been suffering with you since the late 80s. And I'm still a newbie here on YouTube, though. And so this whole talking to a camera thing, still getting the nerves out, still stuttering, still trying not to sound like I'm reading off the DMV form and kind of, being robotic. But yes, you're right. Cody Bellinger was not born in 1955. If he was and still hitting 25 home runs a year, we'd be calling him Cody Pujols. Bellinger Sr. the third. It was definitely 1995, and my bad on that one. With more reps again and more shows and more caffeine, I promise I'll get smoother and tighten up the details. Appreciate you guys catching it. There was more than just one, and doing it with some humor. So that's what makes this fun. All right, let's go ahead and switch gears and go to another comment that was by TST9507, who says, he also refuses to go over the luxury tax. And I'm not sure if he's mentioning me to discuss it or Artie wanting not to go over it. But, again, this is the most common comment that I'm seeing so far. And totally, it's fair, totally understandable, as the Angels have historically stayed under that threshold, even in years where they spent big on Trout, Pujols, Rendon, Hamilton, and all those massive contracts. But as we discussed in that last segment, it's exactly why we talked about it, because going over the threshold is not the nightmare a lot of fans think it is. As long as the team is spending smart and building to win, like the Dodgers, Rangers, Phillies, and Yankees, they've shown that winning pays off for itself. Attendance goes up, merch goes crazy, sponsorships jump, postseason revenue pours in, and we saw some of that at sample when Ohtani was here. So if you build a winner, the luxury tax becomes a toll booth, not a brick wall. So hopefully, and maybe Artie's watching this show, who knows? Hopefully discussions like this highlight that the benefits can absolutely outweigh the penalties. If you invest in the right players, if you pair stars with depth, if you commit to building a real contender, the tax shouldn't be a fear. It should be part of the strategy. And look, Angels fans, we deserve a front office that believes in winning enough to make that kind of push. We do. All right, let's go ahead and move on to our next viewer comment. It's from Gene Oliver 4861, who says, "We need pitching, starters and relief pitching. That's what's been missing." And Gene, you're absolutely 100% completely right. Couldn't agree more with you. For years, Angels fans have watched this team load up on bats, chase big names, shuffle the lineup. But the one thing that's consistently held us back has been the lack of pitching depth, both in the rotation and in the bullpen. And that's exactly why on today's free agent wish list, we didn't look at position players. We didn't look at flashy bats. We went straight for pitching. 2 starting pitchers, 2 guys who could walk into this rotation and instantly raise the floor and the ceiling. Because if this team is going to take a step forward in 2026, it starts on the hill, on the mound. You build from the rotation, reinforce the bullpen, and you give your hitters a chance to play with a lead. So, Gene, you nailed it, my brother. And trust me, we're going to keep hammering pitching all off-season long. All right, so basically those were our comments, and that's going to wrap it up for this week's show as well. And seriously, thank you to everyone who jumped in, whether you were correcting me, which is totally fair, debating free agent targets, firing off jokes, or adding thoughtful insight to the conversation. This is what makes Angels Latest fun. We're just a bunch of Halo fans hanging out, talking baseball the same way we would be sitting around a table with a cold one, venting, laughing, arguing, and hoping this franchise finally gives us something to celebrate again. And what I love most is that even when we disagree, even when we go back and forth, everybody here keeps it respectful. So thank you so much, as that's how it should be. Passionate, opinionated, but never personal. So thank you again, truly, for being part of this growing community. You guys make this show what it is. Now, let's bring it all home. Let's put a bow on top of this segment. So that's going to do it for today's episode, but a quick recap again. We broke down 2 huge pitching targets, Framber Valdez and Dylan Cease, guys who could immediately elevate this rotation, take it to the next level. We dug into the luxury tax, what it really means, and why fans talk about it so much, and whether it should be, something the Angels should be concerned, and would it stop them from going big? And of course, we jumped into your viewer comments, always the best part of the show, and continue the conversation like the Angels family we are. So now I want to hear from you. Which or who's the one pitcher you want the Angels to sign this offseason? Do you think Artie should push past the luxury tax if it means finally building a winning team? And what should we cover in the next episode? Drop it all below. I read every single comment. If you enjoyed today's show, please hit the like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next Angels latest. Your support truly means the world to me. All right, I'm Anthony, and thanks for hanging out. And as always, go Halos!